Welcome to Wrexham is a lot of fun. So for anyone that isn't familiar, Rob McElhenney of a fantastic sitcom for many years, It's Always Sunny, and some other guy who played Deadpool, whatever, Ryan Reynolds. They decided to
Ryan Reynolds of Free Guy fame.
Free Guy, yes. Ryan Reynolds of Green Lantern fame,
of Cameo and Bullet Train fame.
Ryan, yeah, exactly. Oh my god, it didn't take long for Garrett to bring up the Bullet Train hate from last week. Hey Mark, should we just
what was the terrible film he was in with The Rock recently?
Oh,
the one
Red
on Netflix that
Red
felt like it
Notice.
was made by an algorithm, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was called Red Notice. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds of Van Wilder Party Liaison.
That's what I was trying to think of. I couldn't remember the fucking
National
name of it.
Lampoon's Van Wilder Party Liaison. I think is that the origin of the But Why gif? No, I think that's Harold and Kumar, because he's in Harold and Kumar for like 2 minutes and a cameo as well. He does love a cameo, doesn't he? Like he'll show up in a lot of his own stuff. Like he even cameoed as himself in Deadpool, so that just goes to show. Anyway,
and obviously as well, Pikachu's own Ryan Reynolds. Anyway, let's fucking get on with this.
Exactly. Maybe his greatest role is Detective Pikachu, but Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. And here's the thing: they don't really explain why. Decide to purchase Wrexham Football Club, who are a tiny club in the National League in England, which, if you don't know what that means, it's 4 divisions below the Premier League. So your Man Uniteds, your Chelseas, your Arsenals, your not Sheffield Uniteds are all in the Premier League, and then
I was about to say, I was a little upset you didn't relate it to where Sheffield United were as opposed to the Premier League.
Yeah, so Sheffield United are one division below that, and then the division below the division below the division below that is Wrexham.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and it starts off Rob McElhenney just going, I'm from Philadelphia, and everyone's like, yeah, mate, we know, like that's your character basically. But he's like, oh yeah, I like the Eagles. I'm like, yep, yeah, cool. So he's like, I like hard-working teams from small towns, and then I got into soccer recently. Anyway, so I want to buy Wrexham, and I'm like, what? I literally, this documentary, it cuts out all of that. Like, there's no explanation as to how they selected Wrexham. Like, I would love to have seen Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney standing next to a map and just like throwing darts at it and just be like, oh, where's that one landed? Liverpool? Nope, can't afford that. What's that place that's near it? Oh, Wrexham, that's quite close. We'll buy that.
Honestly,
instead.
I'm sick of origin stories in 2022, so I'm happy just to get to the point where they've already purchased it.
Speaking of origin stories, they were just Twitter mutuals and became friends and started DMing each other, and then they'd never met before they decided that they were going to buy a football club together.
Well, yeah, not every celebrity is going to know everyone else.
Yeah, I know, but
not every celebrity buys a football club with each other.
Well, there is
quite
that as
a
well.
serious financial commitment. There is one bit where...
Is it to them? Is it really?
Well, it is to Rob McElhenney, because he's like, I have TV money. And he's like, what I need is like movie money slash aviation gin money / and then he takes a pause and he's like, what else does this bitch own? Which was very, very funny. And maybe the highlight of the first episode. And yeah, then it just cuts to Ryan Reynolds, and we see like the process of them. They have to go on a Zoom chat with all of their fans of Wrexham, and honestly, I kind of wish we'd had a bit more of the Wrexham fans in the first episode, because I think it would have been cool to kind of get like a bit of background on all of them and meet them and understand them and why they're Wrexham, fan club members and all of that sort of stuff. But we don't really get that. The next thing we kind of get is the story of their the season that they bought them. By the end of the season, they kind of towards the end, trying to get into the playoffs. And the second episode, because the first 2 episodes are live now, the second episode is basically you meet some of the players and understand a bit about them, and a bit more about Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds waking up at 4:00 in the morning to watch this match that decides whether Wrexham get into the playoffs or not, which is pretty cool. And I would say it's a lot of fun. It's quite light touch if you don't really understand football. Like if you're not really sure, there's a lot of words that are used by the Wrexham fans that they do this fun thing where they give a caption and they explain it. They take the English word and then they explain it in American. Like, so they use sacked, for instance. So it's fired, but then they also do a translation in Welsh, and there's some really funny stuff actually with they get like a Welsh speaking lady to translate basically their message to the Wrexham fans, and she just spends the whole time burying them in Welsh and they haven't got a clue, obviously like pre-written, but it was quite a cute bit that they did with it. Also their legendary advert for E4 Williams, the UK's leading trailer company that is based in Wrexham, that's the sponsor of the club, who bet they never...
Can I just say, this sounds like the Spinal Tap equivalent of the All or Nothing Amazon series thing they're doing at the moment.
It feels a bit like that. And that's why I liked it. That was kind of... I mean, it's on the way to the point I was going to make, is that it's so light touch and fun and silly, and it has a little bit of the element of what I loved about the Sunderland Till I Die documentary on Netflix as well, where you kind of focus on sort of like some of the ridiculous characters and you see a bit of the town and understand a bit of the people. I mean, if anything, I'd like a bit more of that, as I mentioned, but it's just such an easy watch. Like, these guys are just so entertaining, and you just immediately can't help but root for them, and all of the players and their stories, and, you know, the kids and the families and bits and pieces that you meet, you just immediately immersed in wanting this team to do well. I won't spoil it for anyone in terms of, I mean, obviously the first episode is called Dream and the second episode is called Reality, so you can kind of work out from there what happens with their initial attempt at trying to get into the playoffs. But I won't ruin what is going to be the ultimate end of the series in this little documentary, but it's like the series that all of the class of 92 had about them buying Salford, but actually full of charm and not egos, which is really nice, especially considering they're Hollywood actors and not just former footballers. So yeah, I thoroughly recommend this. It put a huge smile on my face when I watched it. I loved it.
What's it on?
It's on Disney Plus. Yeah,
of course, the natural place for whatever the fuck this is.